government of Tanzania has slapped Acacia Mining with a tax bill of $190 billion. That's equivalent to almost 2 centuries worth of oil producers' revenue.
Tanzania. The Tanzanian president has lashed out at several Western nations, particularly the US, for interfering in the country's internal affairs. Speaking at the 60th anniversary celebration of the Tanzanian police force, the president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, had explicitly said that her government should not be told how to run the country.
Something explosive just happened in East Africa, and Washington did not see it coming. Tanzania has just taken a bold, unexpected step, a move that instantly sent shockwaves all the way to the United States. For years, American oil giants believed Tanzania would eventually open the door, give them access, and let them dominate the country's emerging energy sector. But this time, Tanzania said no. Not only did Tanzania reject the proposal from a major U.S. oil firm, it doubled down, choosing to protect its new energy boom instead of giving foreign companies control. And that simple decision changed everything. Because this isn't just about oil. This is about power. This is about Africa finally taking control of its own resources. This is about Tanzania sending a message the entire world is talking about. Our energy belongs to us and we decide who benefits from it. Washington is scrambling, investors are panicking, and global analysts are calling this a turning point in U.S.-Africa relations. But what exactly triggered this bold rejection? Who was behind the American deal? And why is Tanzania suddenly becoming one of the most strategic energy hotspots in Africa? Let's go deep into the story. Because trust me, this is bigger than anyone expected. Tanzania was quiet for many years on the global stage. While countries like Nigeria and Angola dominated Africa's oil headlines, Tanzania stayed calm, patient, and focused. But deep underground, something powerful was waiting, something that would eventually make the country one of the most talked about nations in Africa's energy future. Huge natural gas reserves, untapped oil potential, massive offshore discoveries along the Indian Ocean, and a new government with a bold vision to make Tanzania one of Africa's next energy giants. For the United States, Tanzania became a major target. American oil companies saw an opportunity, a fresh, fast-growing market with billions of dollars waiting to be unlocked. Washington saw a geopolitical advantage. Tanzania sits on the Indian Ocean, close to key shipping routes. Whoever dominates Tanzania's energy sector would gain influence over East Africa's future. But Tanzania, aware of the global interest, decided to control the game. So when a major American oil company quietly approached with a huge proposal promising investment, technology, and long-term partnership, many expected Tanzania to accept it immediately. After all, America is a superpower. Many smaller countries don't resist such offers. But Tanzania did something surprising. Bold, unpredictable. The government reviewed the offer, examined the hidden terms, analyzed the potential impact on local communities, and then made a decision that shocked Washington. Tanzania rejected the U.S. oil deal, not delayed, not renegotiated, not reconsidered, completely rejected. This one decision instantly changed the energy conversation in Africa. Analysts in the U.S. thought Tanzania would be desperate for American money. But Tanzania had a different strategy, a long-term vision of energy independence and national control. The American company thought Tanzania would accept any offer simply because it came from the United States. But Tanzania was not interested in becoming another resource pipeline controlled by foreign corporations. The country wanted partnership, not domination. It wanted investment, not exploitation. Behind the scenes, Tanzanian leaders were becoming increasingly cautious about Western companies buying too much influence over the country's natural resources. They saw what had happened in other parts of Africa. Foreign companies extracted billions, left little behind, and kept Africa dependent. Tanzania refused to repeat the same story. Many observers in Washington were confused. They believed Tanzania needed American support. But what they didn't know was that Tanzania had options. China was already investing heavily in East Africa. European companies were negotiating fairer terms. Regional partners like Mozambique and Uganda were offering collaboration. This meant Tanzania was no longer forced to rely on the United States. More importantly, Tanzanian leaders believe the country is on the edge of an energy revolution, a moment where Tanzania could rise into the spotlight as one of Africa's new natural gas powerhouses. They knew that whoever controls Tanzania's energy now will shape the next 50 years of its future. This is why the U.S. proposal raised alarm bells. According to insiders, the deal demanded long-term rights that would give the American company too much control. Some terms reportedly limited Tanzania's ability to renegotiate prices later. Other clauses gave the foreign company influence over infrastructure decisions. In short, the deal looked like it would benefit the American company more than the country itself. So Tanzania decided to block it entirely. The reaction in Washington was instant. Analysts described the rejection as a strategic loss. Some politicians called it a sign that Africa was drifting away from American influence. Others suggested the U.S. should reevaluate its relationship with Tanzania. But the truth is simple. Tanzania is not moving away from America. It is moving toward a stronger, more independent future. To understand why this rejection matters, we must look at the bigger picture. Tanzania recently discovered massive natural gas fields offshore, estimated to hold over 57 trillion cubic feet of gas, one of the largest in the region. This gas can power industries, supply electricity, and support exports for decades. It can transform the Tanzanian economy entirely. These resources are too valuable for Tanzania to hand over without full control. Local voices also played a major role. Activists, workers, and young people have been demanding more transparency. They want jobs for Tanzanians, not only for foreign engineers. They want communities to benefit. They want energy profits to stay in the country. They don't want multinational corporations to ship wealth abroad while Tanzania remains poor. This new mindset is reshaping Africa. From Ghana to Kenya, countries are demanding better deals. Tanzania is part of this new wave, confident, determined, and ready to negotiate on equal terms. The U.S., used to getting quick access in many countries, was not prepared for this shift. Tanzania's move scared Washington because it signals something deeper. Africa is changing the rules of the game. African countries are no longer accepting deals that take away their power. They want balanced partnerships. They want contracts that strengthen their economies. They want sovereignty over their resources. And Tanzania set a powerful example by blocking the American oil firm. What happened next was fascinating. As soon as news spread, companies from Europe and Asia rushed to offer new proposals. They promised better terms, more transparency, more local jobs, and more respect for Tanzania's sovereignty. Tanzania suddenly had leverage. The rejection of the U.S. deal made the country more attractive to responsible investors. Meanwhile, Washington launched diplomatic efforts to regain influence. They scheduled meetings, sent representatives, and tried to understand what went wrong. But Tanzanian officials were very clear. Tanzania wants strategic partners, not controllers. This rejection also boosted Tanzania's image in Africa. Countries like Uganda, Zambia, and Namibia praised the move. Social media across Africa celebrated Tanzania for standing firm. Many called it a historic decision. Others said it was a sign of Africa rising. Energy experts also took notice. They believe Tanzania could soon become a major LNG exporter, competing with countries like Qatar, Algeria, and Mozambique. Big powers like China, India, and the EU are already showing interest in long-term gas supply deals. This means Tanzania no longer needs to accept the first offer from any superpower. For the first time in history, the country has bargaining power. But the biggest reason for rejecting the U.S. oil firm was simple. Tanzania wants control of its energy boom. The government wants to build local industries, create local jobs, and keep profits within the country. They want Tanzanian engineers, not outsiders, to lead the future. They want Tanzanian companies to grow. They want energy wealth to be a blessing, not a curse. And they want to protect their national dignity. By blocking the U.S. oil deal, Tanzania sent a message to the world. Africa is no longer desperate. Africa is capable. Africa is ready to negotiate from a position of strength. This moment will be remembered for years, not because Tanzania rejected a superpower's company, but because Tanzania chose its future, its own terms, its own strategy, its own path. It takes courage to say no to a powerful nation. It takes vision to protect your resources. It takes leadership to stand firm for your people. And Tanzania did exactly that. The country is now preparing to launch major energy projects with partners that respect its sovereignty. New pipelines, refineries, LNG terminals, and gas-powered plants are on the way. These projects will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. They will bring billions of dollars into the economy. They will transform Tanzania into an energy hub for East Africa. Some critics say Tanzania is taking a big risk by rejecting American companies. But many believe this is the best decision the country has made in decades, because Tanzania is building a future based on fairness, independence, and national pride. This is not just an energy story. This is a story of Africa awakening. Tanzania's bold rejection shows that the continent is entering a new era, an era where African nations protect their own wealth, set their own terms, and demand respect from global powers. The U.S. may not be happy, but the world is learning a new reality. Africa is no longer the playground of superpowers. Africa is becoming a global player, and Tanzania just changed the game. And so, as we reach the end of this story, one thing becomes crystal clear. Tanzania has just taken a step that many African nations have been too afraid to take. A step that challenges old power structures. A step that says boldly and loudly, our resources belong to us, not to foreign companies, no matter how powerful they are. What Tanzania did is not just a political decision. It is a message to the world, to Africa, and to its own people. For decades, African nations were pressured, influenced, or manipulated into signing deals that benefited outsiders more than their own citizens. Deals that allowed foreign companies to extract billions while leaving local communities untouched by progress. Deals that created dependency instead of development, deals that turned natural wealth into poverty instead of prosperity. But Tanzania's move signals a new era, a new Africa that negotiates with confidence, a new Africa that understands its worth, a new Africa that refuses to be intimidated by big flags, big money, or big promises. By rejecting the American oil firm, Tanzania didn't just turn down an investment offer. It protected its future, it guarded its energy boom, it defended the right of its people to benefit from their own land. Some say Tanzania is playing a dangerous game by challenging a superpower. But is it really dangerous to protect your national wealth? Is it dangerous to demand fair treatment? Is it dangerous to insist that foreign partners respect your sovereignty? No, what is dangerous is allowing outsiders to dictate your future. What is dangerous is repeating the mistakes of the past. What is dangerous is giving away what your children and grandchildren will depend on. Tanzania chose the harder path, the path of independence, the path of long-term vision, the path of dignity. And the truth is, the world will adjust, because when a nation knows what it wants, the world has no choice but to respect it. Already, new partners are lining up at Tanzania's door. Companies offering fairer contracts, countries willing to invest without trying to dominate, regional allies proposing collaboration based on equality. Tanzania's bold rejection didn't isolate the country, it empowered it. It showed that the energy future of East Africa will not be controlled by one superpower. It will be shaped by Africans, led by Africans, and developed for Africans. This moment right here is bigger than Tanzania alone. It is part of a continental shift, a continental mindset. From Namibia protecting its green hydrogen, to Zambia defending its copper, to Dark Congo controlling its cobalt, to Tanzania safeguarding its gas. Africa is learning to say no, Africa is learning to negotiate. Africa is learning to demand respect, and Tanzania just gave the entire continent a masterclass in how it's done. For the United States, this is a wake-up call. If Washington wants strong relationships with African nations, the era of aggressive influence and pressure is over. The era of equal partnership has begun. The U.S. can still be a friend, but only if it respects Africa's right to control its own destiny. For Tanzania, this is a turning point. It is a moment that will be remembered in history books. A moment when the country chose sovereignty over shortcuts, dignity over dependency, and long-term prosperity over short-term deals. And for the Tanzanian people, it is a reason to stand tall, because this decision wasn't made for politicians. It wasn't made for foreign powers. It wasn't made for corporations. It was made for the citizens, for the workers, for the farmers, for the young people, for the future generations who will benefit from Tanzania's energy wealth. This is your land, your resources, your future, your power. And now the world knows it. So as we close this chapter, the message remains loud and unshakable. Tanzania has changed the game. Tanzania has taken control. Tanzania has shown Africa what it means to protect your wealth and what it takes to stand firm against the biggest players on the planet. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a new Africa, and Tanzania is leading the way. Thank you for watching. If you want more powerful African stories like this, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and join us for the next chapter in Africa's rising global influence. The future is African, and it is just getting started.